1,040-acre beach lake is one of 7 lakes that we are blessed to have in Henderson County. Not only do they offer recreation and tourism opportunities, but Beach Lake is a water source for Henderson County, as well as parts of Decatur and Madison counties. All this is due to a few great men who had a vision for the future of Henderson County and the city of Lexington. One of these men is Mr. Dick Berry. Mr. Berry was Speaker of the House for the state of Tennessee and a prominent member of the state legislature in the 1960s. Through his hard work and dedication, he helped create Beach River Watershed Development Authority. It is my honor and privilege to be able to interview Mr. Dick Berry. Mr. Berry, first of all, I'd like to thank you for your time and hospitality of inviting me into your home to speak with you on this on the BRWDA and the history of Henderson County. This interview we're conducting is for the Leadership Library for University of Tennessee at Martin, and it is one of my projects for Weststar Leadership that I'm going through at this time. What I would like is for you just to give me a brief personal history and also a history of your part in the creation of the BRWDA.
Thank you very much, Michael. Well, my name is William L. Berry, and I'm 85 years old. And I've spent all of my life here in Lexington, Tennessee. And during the course of my rather long life, I've enjoyed an active career in politics and other fields. And among other things which I have been involved was the development of the Beach River Watershed Authority. Now, the Beach River Watershed Authority was created by the Beach River Act of 1961 and set up a board of 7 members, including the 2 county judges and others appointed by the governor who have responsibility for the maintenance of the lakes in the Beach River Watershed. Originally there were 7 lakes, now there are 6 under our control. 1 has been returned to the state of Tennessee. It all started back in the early 1960s when a group of private citizens who were concerned about erosion, about the rapidly exhausting supply of water in Lexington, tried to get the TVA interested in doing something to help us. We'd had no direct federal aid here since Natchez Trace, back in the 1930s. And we passed an act through the legislature setting up this board, and it became active about 1961. It was extensively revised in 1963. Construction started in 1962, as I recall, and we closed Beach Dam in 1963. That was the first and largest of the impoundments. Since that time, we've had considerable development. We've had an increase in our water supply. And the one thing that surprised me most was the great number of houses that have been built in the considerable residential development. I did not foresee that. We had the help of most of the public officials in those days, the county judge of Henderson and Decatur counties, the United States senators, and even the president, if he knew anything about it, I think would have been favorable. All in all, it was a successful venture, and I think it's produced some benefits for the state and for the local governments here. I know it has for Lexington. And I think it will be a continuing thing. There's considerable recreational activity. There's considerable construction continuing. And all in all, I'm real pleased with how things have developed, and I hope it will continue to be a constructive factor in our history here in Henderson County and in Decatur County.
Speaking with you in the past, Mr. Berry, which I've had a privilege to do on 2 or 3 occasions, you told me once before that there were actually a couple of extra lakes that were going to be put into this project, but was later scrapped due to finances and public resistance. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
There was not so much public resistance. There were 2 lakes originally planned in the Scotts Hill area. One was on Hurricane Creek, and I do not remember at the moment what other creek was involved. But the Bureau of the Budget in Washington decided that the scope of the program had to be reduced, and they eliminated those 2 particular proposals. I wish they had been built. That's my only regret about the project.
The entire scope of the project, what was the bill on the entire scope of the project?
My memory is about $10 million.
About $10 million.
Bear in mind this was the 1960s, when money was dearer than it is today.
Very interesting. To give a little bit of the importance of Beach Lake into to Lexington and Henderson and Madison and Decatur counties, before Beach Lake was built, we was able to acquire water from wells enough to supply the city of Lexington, which I think the maximum at that time was 750,000 gallons a day.
That's my understanding.
Which at this time we're able to, with the water treatment plant that we have a maximum capacity of producing about 5.2 to 5.3 million gallons of water a day. So that's how important Beach Lake actually is to the city of Lexington, besides the tourism and the recreation and the residential areas that's been developed around it, just for the the livelihood and survival of the city and the county and the existing areas around it. What years was it that you was Speaker of the House for the state of Tennessee?
1963 to 1967.
67, okay. Mr. Barry, I just want to tell you that I greatly appreciate this time to sit down and speak with you, as I do every time I get to sit down and speak with you. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to this interview before we end it?
No, except to express my appreciation after all these years for the great assistance we received in the development of the project from the public officials of those days, and the consistent support that we received from the general public.
Okay. Well, Mr. Barry, it's been a great pleasure, and I surely appreciate your time and your hospitality. Thank you.
And thank your photographer too.